Welcome back to Everything All the Time. By the way, named after the Eagles song, Life in the Fast Lane, Everything All the Time. And I really miss my friend Glenn Fry. He and I were such good friends, and I had this great picture of he and I and Graham Nash, and we are laughing so hard. We are... I keep it on my desk as a memory, but I miss Glenn Fry, and so do the other guys.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, that was... I remember when I was working, this was years ago, I was working at a place called the Monkey Bar.
In New York?
No, here in L.A., and it was owned by Jack Nicholson and and Don Henley,
right.
and all those guys were investors in it. And when they did the Hell Freezes Over tour,
right,
and a bunch of us guys, we weren't making a ton of money, and we asked for tickets, and they said hell no.
Yeah, well, no. Look, I know, and I'm sorry, but I know everybody.
Yes,
you don't ask for tickets. You ask for seats, and then you pay for the tickets.
Exactly.
McCartney just got me a bunch of tickets when he played in my hometown of South Dakota, but I had to pay friends and family. I would never ask them to pay.
No.
By the way, you know how the Eagles got the Long Road recorded? So Warner Brothers comes to the Eagles and they say, "We need one more album."
Right.
And they said, no frickin' way. And they were all against it. And this was going on when Glenn and I were having dinner twice a week. He said, I'm not doing another album. So they talked him into coming in.
Yep.
So Glenn's trying to think, and Glenn's a huge baseball fan. So he's trying to think of the one question he could ask the guy at Warner Brothers, and I forget who it was. But he said, we'll do this album if you can name the starting rotation of the Baltimore Orioles.
Did the guy pull it off?
The guy was a Baltimore Orioles fan.
Oh, shit.
And he pulled it off. The Long Run came out.
Oh, wow.
It's a true story.
Well, one of the greatest
Unlike
documentaries
yours.
one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen is the documentary on the Eagles.
The best.
One of the best.
The 4-hour one?
Yeah, 4-hour one.
By the way, if you smoke, and both of us used to.
Not anymore.
This thing, the Juul, and I don't know why we should do this, but it's the Juell. There's some danger in these.
It's Juul.
Okay. So you can spell.
And you used to call it the Princess. You called it everything.
No,
under
that's
the
what I
sun.
called you.
No.
But
1,000 times I told you that.
But it is, I'm telling you, of all the vapor deals, and it's kind of lame to be doing this on the air. We probably shouldn't.
But the whole thing about, for me, like vapors is I hated the oil. It always spilled in your pocket, or you'd have it in there. It was a pain in the butt. This thing, you just pop out a little pod. You pop the pod in.
Look at this.
And it's so easy.
This is an unsolicited commercial.
And it fits
for the Juul.
fits right in your little shirt pocket.
There's the stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
I found out about this, and I told Court. Took him about 8 months to find one.
Yeah, that's just that.
All right.
You can see that.
Golf, USGA. So Dustin Johnson.
Unbelievable.
You're the golf guy, so explain this.
Well, Dustin Johnson won the U.S. Open. He
Right.
won by 4 shots, which was unbelievable. Birdie's 18 to win by 4. Let me begin by saying Shane Lowry basically blew up. He folded. He had a 4-shot lead.
It happens.
He had a 4-shot lead going into the day, and Dustin Johnson bettered him. Dustin Johnson had a great round and won the U.S. Open. The big controversy, besides the camera showing his wife's ass all the way up the 18th staircase,
Paulina Gretzky.
Yes.
The internet went wild over that.
Oh yeah, but as they should. It was a fantastic shot.
A lot of them were negative too.
I know, but that's
it's a golf tournament.
It's a golf tournament, but the interesting thing was
Then it wasn't.
Yeah, on the 5th hole, he took a couple practice strokes at the ball,
away from the ball,
but next to the ball,
right?
And then put his putter behind the ball without grounding it, and the ball moved. And
so
then
grounding means
grounding means placing
your putter there.
You're placing your putter touching the ground.
Right. From there on, if the ball moves,
okay. You're deemed to have moved the ball, so causing a stroke. What happened was he did not ground his putter.
Dustin Johnson had a stroke?
Yeah. And then what he did was he called the officials over. He called the officials over at that time, explained the situation, and
this is what Vegas does. You can never see it.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
So anyway, he calls the officials over. They they talk to him for a few minutes, and then he goes on. And then 7 holes later, they come to him the 12th hole, and they said, well, we've reviewed the video, and there's a very good possibility that we're going to talk to you at the end of the round. There's a very good possibility that you're going to be penalized a stroke.
And that's where the problem began.
They should have immediately told him yes or no. Now,
and why? Because now he has to live with that, and so do the other players.
And it's one of those
things. They don't know if he's going to win by 5, 4, 3,
or 6, win at all
or
at that point, or go into a playoff. In the USGA and the U.S. Open, it's an 18-hole playoff the next day. So it's not even like you're going to go at the end of the round. You got to come back and play another 18 holes the next day. So it was a really screwed up deal on their part. And at the same time, though, I mean, you go back to 6 years ago. This isn't the first time this happened to him. In 2010. He grounded his club where there was a crowd was standing, and the crowd moved away, and there was his ball. But it was actually in a bunker at Whistling Straits, and he grounded his club, not knowing that was a bunker, and was assessed a 2-stroke penalty and missed the playoff. So he actually missed. He would have won the tournament.
So the distraction was they didn't call it.
Right.
Luckily, he won by 4 strokes, right? 6 or 5 or
4 strokes.
4.
Yeah.
But so he's got to think the rest of the match. He's got to stay 2 strokes ahead of what he had.
Exactly.
Right?
And he did convincingly. And on some level, you can say,
nuts.
Well, golf's an interesting sport in the sense that we were talking about this earlier, is that golf is 90% mental and about 10% physical.
Right.
All the guys out there physically, they have some strengths or some weaknesses compared to the other players. But any one of these guys, they're matched. They're matched fairly well. I mean, it comes down to a mental game. That's why Tiger was so dominant during his streak.
And that's why people hate this. In the hole.
Yeah, you hate that. It's just
and cameras
and
clicking
Baba
off.
Booey and the whole thing. It's screamed. But for him to come out there and go through that and to win by that. I mean, the guy it was his time. He's a great player. It's his first major. I mean, he's won for the last 8 years. He's won at least once every year for the last 8 years. That says a lot about a guy, and says a lot about his strengths. And I'm very happy for him. He deserves it, and I think the USGA did an awful job.
Yeah.
And again, and the other side of that,
what should they have done?
They should have immediately told him yes or no.
Because they still have the evidence.
But there is a lot. I mean, Tiger a few years ago in the Masters, they didn't penalize him. He was penalized the next day. But they should have called that right away.
Yeah.
The rules it's come a time now where people watch something on TV, they call the television network, and it's like, get the frick out of your armchair. You're not there. You're not a rules official. That's why rules officials are there.
That call I used to get those. I used to see the calls come in.
Yeah.
Hey, Pat said the wrong year on that.
And I want to say one other thing
when
about
was the last time you did this,
about the USGA and about the US Open. They have Fox calling it. And I'm just going to say, please give it back to NBC.
Well, everybody's so used to the Tiffany Network.
Well, I love Brad Faxon. Brad Faxon's a fantastic commentator. I think he's fantastic. Joe Buck, go back to baseball. They are
but
is the worst broadcast network for golf I've ever seen in my life. It's terrible.
U.S. Open many years ago, I think they were playing at the Olympic, and Arnold Palmer was. Remember he was in the trap right on 18, and Jim Murray, the great columnist for the LA Times, was standing there taking notes as the reporters would follow them along. And Nicholas Palmer looked up at Murray and he said, "Well, Jim, you know so much about golf. What would you do in this situation?" And Murray looked back at him and said, "I wouldn't be in this situation." One of my favorite lines about golf. But anyway, so they straightened it out. Dustin Johnson is your U.S. Open winner, and we're done for the day.
Are we done for today?
Where are you playing this week?
I'm going to Jackson Hole, and I'll be in Jackson Hole, Wyoming at Ursay's daughter's wedding, and playing a little golf up there, so enjoy that.
See you next week. Tony Boney, we love you.